Welcome everyone. Great song off of Ace Frehley's first solo album, and Rip It Out. Great song. Was in the mood for some Kiss, and this just did the trick. So for this tune, we are a half step down. So tuned to E flat, A flat, and so forth. So the song starts out on an E power chord. We're going to hold that for about 4 counts. And then, or I'm sorry, 2 counts. And then we move down to a D power chord. And we're going to take that D power chord and just move your first finger down to a C sharp, which is really technically an A, but just think of it as moving down from the D. Then we're going to hit an A. Then we'll hit A again and hammer in to B. And hit B 2 more times, and 2 more times. Alright, so we have this so far. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to repeat the A hammered onto B, hit it twice, and then twice more. Now, when we hammer on A to B during the verse, which is coming up, and it's exactly the same as this intro, we don't hit it the extra 2 times. You just let it ring because he's singing, so we don't want to overplay. So this will happen 2 times in the intro, and then we move into the verse. And like I said, the verse is a little more sparse. You want to let his vocals ring, all right? So let's do the last half of the intro and then do one of the verse so you can see how it just kind of hangs there on that B. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that would repeat. So that'll repeat 4 times during the verse where we're just kind of hanging on that B a couple times. And then we are into what I'm calling the pre-chorus. This pushes us into the chorus, and it's basically a G power chord twice and an A power chord. Now I watch Ace play this, and these are the positions I seen him play it. Feel free to do a G and A wherever you're most comfortable, but again, watching Ace, he's just doing a G power chord here, and then an A power chord, and then we're into the chorus. So what we do there is 3 hits on a D power chord, and then 2 hits on a C. And then we move from a G power chord back to a G flat and back to G. Alright, so it'll sound like this. Now he doesn't move his finger. I watched Ace specifically. There's a lot of good videos. You can see him playing this, and he does actually play the G flat or F sharp. But since we're moving down, you always speak to flat when you're moving down the fretboard, or if you go from G, let's say up a half step, that'd be G to G sharp. Okay. Anyhow, G flat, back to G. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that repeats another 3 times. So after doing that chorus 4 times, we are into the post-chorus. Alright, and it is basically A 4 times, and then we're going to go to B twice before we go E, B. And this is all played in the first position. So it sounds like this. So we're just going down to a 4th root E. So on your 4th string, 2nd fret, and just your 3rd string 4th fret, back to B. Alright, and then we are into what would be verse 2. Then we do another pre-chorus, another chorus, another post-chorus, and then we are into a bridge. So the post-chorus kind of leads us into the bridge after chorus 2, and it'll sound like this. And then you'll hear drum roll, and then they will go into the bridge. We'll do this bridge 4 times with a 4 count between. All right, so when they kick in, it will be D, D sharp to E twice. Slide down, count to 4. Alright, we'll do that 2 more times for a total of 4. You'll hear a pick scrape, then the solo starts. Now the solo rhythm is basically another verse. So we've gone through 2 verses, 2 pre-choruses, 2 post-choruses, and then a bridge. And what would be the 3rd verse is really the solo rhythm. So it's 2 measures long, just like a normal verse, and then we do, just like we would after a verse, a pre-chorus and then a chorus. Chorus 3, which is really the outro, all right? Chorus 3 just keeps repeating until it fades out. It'll play 1 measure through, and then we will hear the outro solo start. So I've noted that in my notes, and like I said, they're always available, linked below. Just click on that and download the PDF, print it out, or save it, and you'll have that. So that is all of the rhythm for Rip It Out. All right, first 2 measures of the solo sound like this. All right, ace, good ace-isms here. What we're gonna do, a little take on the Chuck Berry. We're going to bend 14 on the 3rd string and then hit both 12 fret on the B and E string. Come back to 12 on the 2nd string. And then we hit 15, bend up twice. Then we're going to hit it twice more with a bend and release, and then the last one's a longer bend and release. Then once we release it, we go to the 12th fret of the 3rd string with the hammer on and pull off to 14, and then we'll hit 14 bent and then 14 bent again, both with vibratos. So there's a real melody to this. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. That last 14 held a little bit. I'm sure he has some compression on it. Then we're going to kind of start it again. We'll do the same kind of move. But what we're going to do after we release the 2nd bend on 15, we're going to take the 2nd string, hammer in from 12 to 15, and then pull back off, landing on 14 on the 3rd string, back to 12 on the 2nd, and then bending 15. Release, and then 3 more bends of 15. Then we move it up to 17 for 4 more bends with 2 more that are released. Last one just kind of held with some vibrato. So again, my notes will really help with that and slowing it down, like I said, with Riff Station. If you're not familiar with that, I always link this free software, and there's a video on how to use it. I have a link to that. You can download that actual video, and I show you how I use it along with VLC to slow down my videos. So the 3rd measure of the solo, we're going to just do a little lick down here at the 12th position like we've done the first 2, and then we're going to move up to the 2nd position. All right, so we'll have this. All right, I'm just going to stop there because it gets a little involved. But what we're doing, we're going to start out just like we did with the first 2 measures of the solo, that semi-Chuck Berry, and then we're going to hit 12 on the 2nd string, then to 15 bent, and 15 bent again on the 2nd string, and then slid off. Once we slide off, we're going to hit the open second string and then hit fourth fret on the second string, pulled off to 2, pulled off to open, landing back on 4. Now this 4 pull off and landing on 4, we will do 2 more times for a total of 3. Then we're going to pull off a 4-2 to open and keep doing that. We're not going to hit the strings anymore. That will be 5 times. Alright, at that point he comes up to some unison bends from the second string to the third string. So we're going to start out second string 4th fret, third string 6th fret bent up. Then move that up a half step, 5 and 7, and we'll bend that up and sort of release it till we move to 7 and 9, and then 9 and 10. And then we move up from 9, okay, we're going to go, I'm sorry, that'd be 9 and 11, we're going to go 10 and 12, and 11 and 13 to 12 and 14. All right, 12 and 14 is our last unison bend, but then we start the lick kind of again. So let's do that up to this point. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once we hit 12 with our unison bend, 12 and 14, we're going to go ahead and bend 14, but this time we'll hit 12 on the second, 12 on the first, back to 12 on the second. So we're going to separate those notes. And then 15 bent, and then 15 bend and release. And then we'll bend 15 another, I think it's 6 or 8 times before we pull off to 12. So we'll have this. After we pull off to 12, we slide down, all right, because we're going to change positions for the last measure of the solo and end things out. So the very last measure of the solo is a repeated lick. We're going to move up to the 19th position. So we're going to take the third string at 21, bend that up, catch 19 on the second to first, coming back to 22 on the second. Then we go to 19 on the second, and then grab 22 with a bend, and then another bend. So we have this. And that will repeat again. So again, this outro solo, I figured out, I don't know, what have I got here, 6, 8 measures or so. Basically, the measures, the solo was in E minor pentatonic. Now we're going to just move it to D minor pentatonic. So basically, it's going to, the first 4 or 5 measures, we'll start out with this lick. So we're doing our little Chuck Berry 12 on the third string, bent up before catching 10 on the second to 10 on the first, and then we come back to the second string, 13 pulled off to 10, and then catching 13 again on the second with bended vibrato. So that again is consistent through the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 measures of the solo. The 6th measure is really a continuation of 5. He's just hanging on 13 and hitting that note for all it's worth before he does the last measure, which is, you know, again, I would say a continuation of the 5th measure where he's pulling off and moving to the 3rd string, and then it's fading out. But anyhow, that's how they start out. So the first measure of the solo, what we're doing there, we start out with that lick, then we hit 13 unbent on the second string, and then go to 10 to 13, back to 10 with the hammer on and pull off, back to 10, landing on 12 on the third, back to 10. Then we're going to do 12 with a bend release, pull off to 10 on the third string, catching 12 on the fourth string, back to third string, 10 to 12 on 4, 2 more times. So that's the first measure of the solo. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, second measure, we're going to kind of continue that lick. Then we're going to do the same thing we did with the 13, and then on the second string hit and then unbent, and then we go 10, 12, 13, or 10, 13, back to 10 with the hammer and a pull off. Landing on 12 on the third string, but then we'll move to the fourth string at 12. And then 10. So we have this. Then we go to, we're hitting 10 on the fourth string, then we go to the sixth string at 10, and then we're going to hit the fifth string at 10, slid to 8. It's kind of a different lick, but it really works well in the context. So slowly, 1, 2, 3, 4. He just holds that 8 with some vibrato, and then we're into the third measure. So third measure, the solo starts out like what we've done. We're going to do another hammer-on pull-off from 10 to 13, back to 10, landing on 13. So, measure 3 sounds like this. What we're doing there is we start out a lick like we have. Then we're going to do another hammer-on from the second string, 10th fret to 13, back to 10, landing on 12 on the third string. Then we come to the 13th fret of the first string with a bend, vibrato, and then finally release, and then another 13 bent before we get a 13 unbent, and another 13 bent, and vibrato and release. All right, that leads us to the fourth measure. Starts out the same. Then we don't do a hammer-on vibrato. We're going to do 13, 12 to 10 on the second string. We're going to do a little walk down. All right, really nicely done here. So we start out. Alright, basically walking down 13, 12, and then 10 on the second to third string, same thing. And then when we get to the fourth string, we'll go 12, 11, 10, and same on the fifth. Alright, that leads us to the fifth measure. Starts out the same. I'm going to spare you all the cats, but basically this measure goes on, jeez, I didn't even count all these, probably 16 times of hitting the 13 bend. Then he hits it 6 times unbent. And then the last measure will be a pull off to 10 before we go to the third string. So we're pulling off from the second string to 10. Then we go to the third string, 12 with bend, and then vibrato before we release it. Then we hit 12 bent 4 more times. And then another bend release and pull off to 10 twice. All right. again, things are fading out. Any more you do, just you know, make it up right here in this D minor position and you'll be great. So I really hope that helps everybody. Notes below. If you like it, buy me a beer. If anything, let the ads roll. That helps me. So I appreciate everything. I really do. I just want to help. So enjoy.